Hey guys, welcome to the Rusty Beauties garage and to our next project, this beautiful 1967 Triumph Spitfire Mark III. That is the project that I kept telling you about, that it was coming, and it's finally here. The owner Peter contacted me at the end of last summer and asked me if I can take on this project for the winter, but I already had booked 2 other projects for the winter, so I told him maybe in January I can take it on. But for one reason or another, my previous project got delayed by almost 2 months. So now it is end of February, it's basically March tomorrow, and I'm just starting on this project. Along with this, I have another project over there. You know about that, it's the Franken car. We need to work on that as well, so we will see how we're gonna juggle with the 2 projects here, but it is doable because what we have to do on this Spitfire is mainly rebuilding the engine. So once we take the engine apart and we determine what parts we need, we can order them. If the block and the head and the crank need to go to a machine shop, they can go. And while we're waiting for all these things to come back, we can work on the Franken car. There are other things that we need to tackle on this car, but they're not a lot, so we're gonna have to juggle, like I said. So let me first walk you around a little bit and show you the car, and then we're gonna go through the list and see what needs to be done on this car, so you know what to expect. So as you can see, it is a Mark III Spitfire, and the story, as far as I know, it's that Peter owns it for about 30 years now, and for the last 20-30 years it hasn't run like continuously, like to use it as a driver. He had it on the road on and off, but it never ran properly for him. The engine apparently doesn't have compression, the valves are leaking, and he wants it rebuilt. He's done a lot of electrical work on it. As you can see, there's some wires inside. This is his wiring diagram that he gave me. So he added relays for all of the circuits. He made his own switches up there. And as far as he told me, the electrical, it all works. So I hope we don't need to do anything there. Cosmetical, like there's things like this that we need to glue, and front right bumper, he said that it is loose. I don't know. Or maybe rear right? I don't know, there was something on the list. This door, the other door closes properly, but this door doesn't close very well. In fact, it doesn't close at all. And as far as I can see, it is too far back. This entire gap is too big, so looks like it needs to move the whole door. Also, one of the hinges is not tight somehow. It needs a new windshield because this one apparently is, yeah, I can feel there's welding marks on it. I think somebody welded and all the spatter from the welding went on the windshield. So he says it doesn't look bad, but when you drive against the sun, you can't see nothing. The windshield frame needs to be painted. We need to change the windshield, obviously. This gasket, which is deteriorating, and we're gonna fix the door. But the top, as you can see, is in a very good shape. There's no rust as far as I can see on the car. I haven't been underneath, but it looks pretty good. Which bumper is loose? I don't know which bumper is loose, but we're gonna find out. So yeah, let me pop the bonnet and show you what's underneath. The engine bay doesn't look bad. Here is Peter's wiring. I mean, these are all his relays. He has this improvised cover, but everything is numbered. And yeah, it looks good. I don't know anything about it though. I mean, it's done well, but I don't know anything about it. So even though I have a schematic, it's gonna be tricky until I learn what does what. So anyway, you see this, he says that this boot is newish. It hasn't seen a lot of road exposure. but because it's been installed many years ago, it just perished. The engine is, I'm assuming it's 1.3 liter, 1280, whatever they are. The spark plugs he took out many years ago, he said, so now we don't know what the situation with the cylinders is. Here, Peter's wife also put some cinnamon and pepper for the rodents. And yeah, what else? Yeah, okay, let's address the elephant in the room. Yep, we have a set of Webers here. Dual Weber carburetors. I've never seen a Spitfire with Webers, so this is a first. But he said that when it was running well with these carburetors. They are jetted properly and all that, so we shall see. He doesn't think the battery is any good, but we're gonna see that. And other than that, it's a regular Spitfire, right? The mechanical pump is disconnected and there's electric one in the boot, so we're gonna have to see how that works. And yeah, that's pretty much everything. So let me put you on the tripod again. Let's go through the list quickly and then we're gonna start working on it. All right, so I mentioned some of the things that we have to do, but let's go through the rest. So obviously the main thing that we have to do is rebuild the engine, and these are the rest of the projects that we need to do. The fuel pump, he said that it works, but it is very noisy and sends vibrations through the entire body of the car, so we're gonna have to mount it on a piece of rubber or something to make it more quiet. You have to check the rear axles, because he said that on his last trip, when he was driving it the last time, it was vibrating a lot, so he thinks that maybe one of the axles is bent. We're gonna check the brake lines and the brakes in general. There's something wrong with the distributor. He says it doesn't mount properly. It's like loose somehow, so we're gonna figure that out. The horns don't work. Okay, so here we go, electrical. Front license plate, we need to make some kind of a holder. The driver's door, which I already showed you. Fuel line, we have to check for leaks, because he said that once he put fuel in the gas tank and tried to start the car, and then a few days later there was no fuel in the tank. So where did the fuel go? Well, one thing I want to check before we do anything is the oil, and make sure that the fuel is not now in the oil, all of it, because you know sometimes this happens. Gas tank also we need to check for leak. Front right bumper is loose. We'll see what he means. New windshield and paint the windshield frame. So did I mention that we're gonna paint the windshield frame, which means we're gonna take it out. He has one of the gaskets, but we need the other one. We'll check the differential, the transmission and the gas. Hubcaps, rims, tires, and drive shaft length. Okay, so there's a overdrive installed in the car, and as you may know, for Spitfire and GT6, when you add an overdrive to a transmission, to GT6 or Spitfire transmission, that changes the length of the transmission, makes it a little bit longer, and then you need a shortened drive shaft. For TR2, 3, 4, 6 and 250, when you replace the tail of the transmission with an overdrive, that keeps it the exact same length, so there you don't need to do anything other than modifying the mounts. So that has been done. He shortened his drive shaft, but he thinks that he messed up with the measurements and he shortened it a little bit less than needed, and now there's no room for the drive shaft to expand and collapse. So maybe we're gonna have to shorten it one more time. And that's it. That's everything on the list. Oh, he has new carpet inside the car that we need to install. There's these protective covers on the side that form the shroud around the radiator, so this we need to install, and there's a few other little things that we're gonna take care of. So anyways, we're talking way too much and I can't wait to put my hands on it, but we have to make a plan first, right? Well, like I said, first of all we're gonna rebuild the engine, but before we do that I want to make sure that after I rebuild it, it's gonna start. I mean, I want to go through everything now and make sure that everything works. Carburetors are operational, the distributor has no issues, like, you know what I mean? So we're gonna try to start it. If we are able to start the engine and make it run, that's gonna be a good starting point for when we rebuild it and we go for the first start. Because if we take it apart now, we rebuild it and put everything on and it doesn't start, how do we know whether we did something wrong during the rebuild, or the carburetors, for example, are clogged, or the distributor is not working properly, or something like that? So that's the goal for today. Let's see if we can make it run. And to begin with, let's check the oil first. That's very clear oil, but it doesn't smell like gas, and it has more than enough. That's good. Then let's see if we can turn the engine over. No, we're spinning. Okay, let me grab a wrench. Oh, okay. Easily. Too easy, actually. Wow. So if I tighten the belt, I'm gonna be able to turn it through the dynamo here, with the generator. Let me do that. Okay, now we are actually turning the crankshaft, which, wow, that spins like, look at that. I know we don't have spark plugs in, but that's too easy. Okay, then next we're gonna try to crank it, but we need battery for that. Let's see if we have a battery. Let's see if there's anybody home. Oh, actually there is. Knock knock, 1234. That's actually a good voltage. No, any sparks? No sparks. That didn't sound very well. No smoke. Good. So before we crank it, we're just gonna make sure that there's nothing inside the carburetors. We're not gonna suck any mouse nests into the engine. I don't think we have any coolant, or at least it's not full. We're gonna check that later. Now let's try to crank it. Okay. Oh wow, that's the fuel pump. Hold on. I'm gonna unplug it. Okay, so the fuel pump is disconnected. Turn the ignition on again. Nothing. Let's crank it. Wow. Okay. You know what? Before we do anything else, why don't we check the compression? I'm gonna unplug the coil. Where can we put that? Yeah, 110. It's on the low side. Number 2 is a little bit higher. Let's see number 3. Yeah, 130. It's not too bad, but number 1 was low. What is this? 150 actually. Well, so from 110 to 150, that's like 50% almost. So, you know, let's start it and see how the oil pressure is. Might be just seized rings or something. So yeah, let's see if we have spark. Well, it turns out I didn't record that part, but yes, we did have spark, so let's install spark plugs. But first, let's clean these spark plugs with my special spark plug cleaner. Okay, you can do that with a propane torch or map torch, which is not real map anymore, but with this is much faster. Now it's a little bit too hot, so let's go deal with the fuel. All right, so I brought another fuel pump and connected over there. I don't know what's going on with the gas tank. I don't want to put gas in it yet. So these are my jumper wires, and this one is ground, this one is power. They're connected to the battery. So if I plug this in, let's see if it is gonna squirt fuel from anywhere. This one is also noisy when there's no fuel in it, but then it becomes quieter. Okay. Oh yeah, look at that. We have a fuel leak from here. Okay. Let's replace this hose. That's 5/16, so there's 1/4 inch up to here, but then there's 5/16 connecting them. Huh. I think we should replace this one with 5/16 as well, because these are big carps. Okay, let me replace this hose. Okay, let's try that again. Okay, it's nice and dry now. Now it's leaking from here. Yeah, you see it's leaking a little bit from here. Maybe that fuel pump is building too much pressure, but I don't have a pressure regulator. Maybe I should buy myself a fuel pressure regulator. And it looks like it's been leaking before, because look, this head of the bolt here is pretty well bent. So anyway, we're gonna try to start it like that, but we have to keep in mind that we have to replace whatever fiber washer or copper washer is there on this side. Okay, I'm gonna turn the pump off from here now. I topped up the coolant. It took about a liter of coolant, so it wasn't that low. I put the spark plugs on. Let's plug them in now. So we said this is 1. 4. Okay, and plug in the ground on the coil. Where is the power? Actually, no, I'm gonna plug this at the bottom of the coil, so I can plug the main power to the coil on top. So I'm gonna leave the main power to the coil unplugged, and I'm gonna turn the ignition on. Okay, so now the ignition is on, and whenever I plug this white wire in the coil, we're gonna have power to the coil, obviously. And from here I can control the fuel pump, and from here I can control the crank. So the solenoid here has a push button, and you can crank it from here. So are we ready to try and start it? I think so. I'm doing all that because I want to be here, because these are the chokes for the Webers, and we don't have cables attached. So I need to be able to pull at least one of the chokes, if not both. Yeah, I can pull both. So, okay, here goes nothing. Fuel pump on. Ignition on. And chokes. And start. Wow, she's ready to start. Let's try with no chokes. Ha. See the oil pressure? It's low on oil pressure. It's 50. not great. This means that when it warms up it's gonna go lower, but we'll see. Generator charging temperature still low. I think she idles great actually. I don't know. Uh-oh. What is this? This came out of the exhaust. I don't know what this is, but a little bit of whitish smoke, but it might be just condensation because it's cold outside. We still have a little bit of snow. Still waiting for that part of my roof to defrost. Anyway, I think she idles great actually. Like, I don't see anything wrong with it other than the oil pressure, unfortunately. Yeah, let's warm her up and see what's gonna happen to the oil pressure. It's firing. It needs a thermostat. It's already open, even though it's pretty cold. And there's a leak there. You see that? There's a leak. But you see it's already open at 130. That should remain closed until 180. Has headers. Looks like the radiator is blocked in the right side. So you see there where the white dot is, that's 130 Fahrenheit, but here it is 74, it's below 70, but on the exit down there it's already hot, 150, where the red dot is, that's the maximum temperature on the screen, and that's 150. Here 160, so 160 in, 150 out. So it looks like the radiator needs to be flushed or something, I don't know. She's shaking because of the uneven compression, 110 there and 150 here. Yeah, the oil pressure is going down. Temperature doesn't move here. The fuel gauge is going crazy. I don't know if we have at all fuel in the gas tank, but it's going up and down here. That's interesting. I think, okay, so what's happening probably is we don't have a voltage stabilizer in the system. So when the generator is cycling, you know, the generator goes on and off. We have a voltage regulator. So the voltage regulator turns the generator on, the voltage in the system starts going up. Because we don't have a voltage stabilizer now, the reading here changes. Normally it should get 10 volts, but now it's probably getting 13. And when the generator goes off, the voltage in the system drops down, and now we have a different reading here too. It goes down as well. Let's check the battery. 13.4. Okay, I want to see if it is gonna start going down at some point. Now the radiator is getting better. Okay, that's not good. I mean, it goes up when you rev it, but then comes back down. That's what, like, if this is 50, this is 25, so it is 20 psi. Not good. Okay, let's turn it off and we're gonna talk a little bit more. Ooh, it's cold. Okay, so here's what I think. I think the compression issue is because of bad rings. Considering that one or two of the cylinders were like above 140, I think one was 150 for sure. So I think all of the cylinders are going to be 150, if not more. However, probably from sitting, it seized the rings or even broke rings. I don't know. So if we keep running it, they might even come back if they just unseize. I don't know. However, the bottom end is what worries me. The fact that the crank is spinning so easy by hand is telling me that maybe the main bearings are pretty worn, and the oil pressure confirms the same thing. It had, what, like 50 psi when we started it, and then it went down to 20, which is like bad. That's where my Spitfire was, and I kept driving it like that for years, and now I have to rebuild it again. So anyways, looks like we're gonna have to take it apart, but I think it sounds really good with these carburetors, with the headers, and with the exhaust system. It sounds pretty good. I like it. I'm sure it's gonna be pretty good on the road. Too bad we can't put it on the road now and test it. I'm probably gonna unplug the fuel pump and I'm gonna run her out of gas, because there's no point of leaving the carburetors with gas in them. And then in the next episode, we're gonna start stripping it. We're gonna take the transmission out, we're gonna check the drive shaft, and then we're gonna pull out the engine from here. We're gonna strip it and see what's wrong with it. So stay tuned for that. But now that we know that everything around is running properly, well, the temperature gauge is not working and stuff like that, but we're gonna figure that part out. But we know that once we rebuild the engine and we put everything back together, it should start. If it doesn't start, then we've done something wrong. Probably we've done the camshaft timing 180 degrees. You know, we've done that before, so we're gonna be careful not to do it. Anyways, that's everything for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and supporting the channel. Stay tuned for more on this project, that project, even this one, that one. You know, we're working on many cars at the same time. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. That helps me a lot. Like, share, all that is great. If you're not a supporter and you're interested to know how you can support the channel financially, you can go to the description of this video or on the main page of my channel. There's links to my PayPal, to my Patreon. There's different ways that you can support the channel, and that's going to be really appreciated. So thank you once again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.